Hello all my fishy friends, and welcome back to another addicted fishing video. Today we are going to take you by the hand, that's this hand right here, and show you the top 5 techniques for going out and catching trout as a beginner fisherman. Start the video, we're walking into the fishing store right now. We're going to show you exactly what you want to throw in the cart to get you that advantage. Let's go have some fun. First thing we're going to start off with in this equation is the fishing rod. Having the right rod is very important to the type of fishing that you're going to be doing. Now the 2 rods I have in my hand are 2 of the most classics. The one that I started off with fishing way back in the day was the 𝗛𝗘𝗟𝗪 𝗪𝗢. This one's a 7'6", 4 to 10 pound rod, and this is going to work great for a couple of the different methods we're going to show you here today. The second rod I'm going to show you is a little bit higher quality, a little bit more expensive, but also a very, very good rod. It's the 𝗛𝗘𝗟 SST. This one is 4 to 10 pounds also, but it's 7 foot long. I'm going to use this one to throw a lot of the different spinners and a lot of the more lure type presentations, where this other one will be my bobber rod because I have that other ½ foot of length. So these 2 rods are perfect, and if you're looking for a little bit more on the bargain side, there's this rod right here. Every rod make and manufacturer usually comes out with a combo kit like this. This here has an 𝗛𝗘𝗟 reel on it. This is the Cascade reel. This is the Cascade 2 rod series, and this is also a 7 foot, 4 to 10 pound line rating, but it's the full package. You have the line, reel, rod, and everything ready to go, where all you have to do is walk out of the store. Now, if you're not going to buy one of these combo rod setups, let's show you the reel you're going to want to put on one of the 𝗪𝗏s or the SSTs. So in my opinion, my favorite reel and the best one to match with an 𝗛𝗟𝗪 𝗪𝗏 or one of the SST setups is the 𝗛𝗟𝗪 𝗪𝗏. This is in the 1000 series, and this is perfect for trout fishing. This thing has just enough line to be able to bank fish and fish from the boat. It's a very, very durable reel. The first one I ever actually used, I found on the bottom of the river, and it lasted me years. So these are a very durable reel, very good for the price, and perfect for this setup. Now the line I'm going to put on this is a 10 pound Addicted Enforcer braid, and I like that Enforcer braid because it has a very high visibility so that you can actually see it where it's sitting in the lake. It's very easy to detect bites. I like to keep my pound rating for my braided line within 10 to about 15 pounds. That way you can fit a lot of line on the spool, and it casts a long ways out of your guides on your fishing rod. So the first method we're going to start talking about is my very favorite, and I think it's the easiest to use as a beginner trout fisherman, and it's using a spinner. The 2 different kinds that we're going to be using here, the 3 different kinds. One of them, my very favorite to start with, is the Kastmaster. Now these things come in a lot of different sizes. I personally like, my very favorite is the 1/8 ounce. This is a really great thing to start with. You can cast it a long ways. It's not just a clever name, and it has a really, really good action. And the assortment of colors is another very good thing about fishing these things. As you can see, we have everywhere from straight gold through our yellows, oranges, all the way down to our trout patterns, down to our frog patterns, and even some of them that look like these tiny little bass here. So the great part is about all the lures especially is you have every different kind of color to target the fish for what they're actually eating in that lake that you're fishing for them in. Okay, so I'm going to get a couple different colors here. I'm going to go kind of across the spectrum. I'm going to go one silver, one of the chartreuse, and one of a little bit darker color. Now on to my second favorite lure, and that is the Roostertail. The nice part about a Roostertail or a Kastmaster is you can pretty much find them at any gas station, any convenience store, or any single tackle shop anywhere in the world. These things are absolutely everywhere. And when it comes to a Roostertail selection, it can be a bit overwhelming. As you look here, look at all these different colors. Some of my very favorites are the chartreuse and silver, white and silver, and the fire tiger. And as you can see, once again, just like the Kastmasters, I picked a really good range of colors so that I can switch back and forth, I can figure out what those fish want, and I can target those ones that want me. Now for the third and final lure, which is definitely a run-up from my favorite, is the old Panther Martin. Again, a lure that has a huge selection, a lot of different colors, but I'm going to stick with my favorites. I got the size 6 silver and chartreuse, and the size 6 black and gold. Now I'm ready to go spinner fishing. Found ourselves a spot to fish, and that can be one of the hardest things for a beginner fisherman to do. The wonderful part about trout fishing, and especially in almost every state and almost every country in the world, big almost there are some sort of trout species. So especially in the United States, there's a lot of different options for you guys. Best thing to do in my opinion is pull out your phone, look up trout stocking near me, and that's just as easy as that. Go to Google, type in trout stocking near me, find a place that has an adequate amount of fish put in it, and start there. Those places that have those actual targets for you are the best places to go and target the fish. Essentially, there's more options for you. So let's get started in showing you how to fish. Okay, so the method I'm going to start out talking about first, because of its ease of use, is the spinner. Now I've already talked about the rod selection for this. We've already talked about the reel and line, but we haven't talked about how to tie it all up. So that's where we're gonna start. You can do a couple different things here. You can either attach your fluorocarbon line that I suggested you get to your braided line in some sort of unifying knot, but I'm gonna show you guys the easiest way. This is a video for beginners. So if you wanna see more on how to attach these knots and the different styles of knots that you use to attach braided line and fluorocarbon, check out some of our other videos here on YouTube. But let's show you how to do this one. So what I have here is a size 10 barrel swivel, like I showed you we just bought in the store. The knot I prefer to use most is what we call your typical clinch knot. So I'm going to put the tag end of that line through the eye, creating this little V here. I'm going to hold that barrel swivel so that it's not spinning. Then I'm going to take with my middle finger and my ring finger and my index finger and my thumb, and I'm going to make 7 simultaneous wraps around the main line. Next, I'm going to take the tag end that I have in my right hand and put it through the hole that I've created by doing those 7 twists. Not the hole of the swivel, but again, the hole of the line that I've created by doing those twists. And there we have it. I take my 8-pound fluorocarbon line, which is very translucent and hard for the fish to see. That's why we've chosen this weight of line, and that's also why we've chosen this color of line, this clear fluorocarbon line. So, to the other end of my swivel now, I'm going to use my fluorocarbon line and tie the exact same clinch knot. Bam, we're ready to go. Okay. Now with about a 2 to 3 foot leader coming off of my barrel swivel, I'm going to tie my lure onto the end of my fluorocarbon line. Same knot as before, the normal clinch knot. Wrap it through the eye, 7 wraps, and back through the little gap that I've created in the line. Wet your knots. There we go. Now let's talk technique. Talk technique, like my friends say, talk technique. Okay, now when we walk up to the edge of a lake, it can tend to be a little overwhelming, especially given the size of the body of water that you're fishing. So I would say a great recommendation is to target smaller bodies of water first as you're starting to learn. The thing I love about a spinner, 1, is it helps you get good at casting. 2, it covers a lot of water, especially if you use it in the system that I'm about to show you. So when I walk up to a lake, I look at it and I want to break it down into some sort of a mathematic equation. I think I'm a pie chart. If I'm going to start casting, I'm not just going to throw it out into the middle of the lake to one certain point every time. I'm going to start with some sort of method. So here I'm going to start to my left about 45 degrees from the bank, casting out to where I know it's deep enough that the fish can actually live. Or if the fish are showing me that they live there, that's where I'm going to cast. But after each cast, I'm going to cast about a 10 to a 15 degree difference all the way to the right, left to right, clockwise, to cover all that water that's in front of me. And then after I've done that, I'm going to move down the bank to a different position and make that same series of casts. Now that I've made my first cast, I went slightly to the left. I'm going to make one more cast straight out to the middle. Keep my tip low, pointing my rod tip right at that spinner the whole time, and only reeling fast enough so that I can feel the thump of that blade. Oh, I think we already had a bite. That was easy enough. See, sometimes it can be just that easy. Okay, next cast, another 10 degrees to the right. Already got another bite. Sometimes the speed of your retrieve can really dictate how those fish are going to bite it. Sometimes the faster retrieve, the more aggressive of a bite you'll get. Sometimes if the water is very cold or you have some sort of conditions where the water is very deep and those fish are tracking it from a long ways, you want to reel a little bit slower. So playing with that, going a little faster, going a little bit slower, but above all, making sure that your spinner blade is spinning can be the best option for catching a fish on a spinner. Okay, now that I've exhausted each of my casting angles all the way around me, I've casted as far as I could on each one of them. I'm going to move down the bank just out of my casting range and do the same series of casts again. Okay, only one bite on the spinner so far, but it is midday. Maybe we need to switch to another tactic. If you guys have any questions on spinner technique or any questions on spinners themselves, be sure to comment down below. This setup works great for whether you're using the Kastmaster, the Roostertail, or something like the Panther Martin here. So again, if you have any questions, be sure to comment below, and now on to the next method. That's a lot of options. I would say the second method you really need to learn if you're going to be out going to do beginner trout fishing is this bad boy right here, and that is Berkley power bait. Now this stuff comes in all shapes and sizes. Personally, I like the little power eggs. These things are very convenient. It's not the same squishy kind of material that's in the actual dough itself, but these power eggs are very quick, they're very convenient, and they're a low mess. I like to keep both of them in my box, so we have a great option of power bait here. I like to go with something maybe garlic flavored, and then something with a normal power egg smell. Now these are a very, very good option, but nothing quite works as good as the old-fashioned dough. Now there are a million different scents and colors of the normal power dough, but I like to stick with a pretty close little range, and I really don't go too crazy on my colors. A lot of times I'll go with something like a rainbow dough, something that has a lot of different colors in it, or like a Jerry Garcia style of dough, or I'll go with your classic chartreuse or your classic greens with the normal power dough scent. I think this stuff works great. It's a great beginner way to be able to go out and catch fish. Now I'll show you the rest of the setup that you're going to need to put this on your line. Size 10 or size 7 barrel swivels, 1/2 ounce or 1/4 ounce egg weights, number 4 addicted advantage bead hooks, and a 6-pound fluorocarbon line. Okay, now on to the second and definitely one of the very most effective techniques that there is, and that's fishing some power bait. So this setup is very, very easy. You're going to use basically the exact same setup, other than the rod's going to be a little bit longer. It's going to be the Solilo model, that longer rod, or any rod that you have, really. Just using a normal old cane pole will work for this sort of situation, but the right rod makes it a lot easier to cast. I'm going to take my 1/4 ounce egg weight that you saw us buy at the store, and I'm going to add it straight to my line. My line is going to be right here from the end of my rod tip. It's going to go through that little lead, and that thing slides up and down. The importance of having a lead that moves along your line like this is so that you can feel the bite better. Those fish will swim up, they'll grab your line and start pulling on that bait, and this allows that to slide right through it until you set hook and rip that fish into the bank. Second thing we're going to put on the line is that size 10 barrel swivel that we bought. Just as simple as we showed you before. 7 wraps through the eye and pull her tight. How I'm going to gauge how much leader line to use on this is how much vegetation is on the bottom of the lake. I can already tell by casting the spinner first that there's quite a bit of weeds out there. So I want to make sure to 1, get past that weed line, and 2, have a long enough leader so that my bait will be able to float up above the bottom of the lake and up to where those fish can actually see it as they're swimming around on the prowl for their next meal. So today I know that grass is going to at least be 3 feet long, so I'm going to go about a 3.5 foot leader and tie it to the other end of my swivel. Next, and very simple process here, is my size 4 addicted advantage bead hook. Why I like to use these hooks is because they are very, very light for their size. That meaning I'm going to have enough hook to catch a big fish. It's going to stick that fish really well, but I can also have something that's going to float up off the bottom well with that power bait and keep that bait up where that strike zone is for those fish. Same clinch knot we're going to tie, trim your tag ends. Now it's time to bait up. Now I have my 2 kinds of bait here. I'm going to show you obviously why I prefer at times the power eggs, because they're just little guys like this. You break 2 or 3 of them off, whatever's going to float your hook, connect them to the line, toss them out in the lake, and they work very, very well. The thing about the dough different from the power eggs is you get a little bit different side of profile. You're going to have a little bit bigger profile, a little more of a round profile. I like to take that stuff, put it right in my palms, roll it in a circle just like that to where I have this nice little egg. I'm going to place the hook right in the middle of the egg. I'm not even going to bother hooking it. I'm just going to force it through there. I'm going to take my fingers and do the old diamond trick, my personal favorite, and kind of cover that hook gap. That way those fish have to actually eat that bait all the way for you to be able to hook them. And also when you reel back in, it tends to not get snagged up in the weeds or on the rocks a lot more. So now that we're all baited up, let's get this thing in the water. Now, one quick tip when you're going to cast out is that you can fish from anywhere with this sort of setup. So if you need some sort of advantage, you need some sort of rock to stand on, anything helps you get away from the ground and cast just that little bit much further out into the lake and get you to where those fish are actually swimming around. Okay, the ultimate key here is casting this thing out hard enough and far enough without throwing your bait off. I like to give my power bait just a little bit of a dip in the water, get it wet so that it kind of sticks to my hook. Back over my shoulder. Look out to where I want to cast, grab the end of my rod, and let her fly. That was a good one. So the key is now is to let this stuff sink down to the bottom. This is a game of patience here. Sometimes when you have a lot of fish in the lake, it doesn't take long. Your power bait sometimes doesn't even make it to the bottom. But what we're going to do here now that I've let that thing sink to the bottom, I'm going to find myself some sort of rod holder. Now anything does work as a rod holder. You see how I opened my bail, I walked over here to give myself some line. That way I can set my rod up on some sort of structure to where it won't get yanked in the river or in the lake. I'm going to reel my stuff tight to where I have just that little bit of a bend in my rod tip. My line's tight out over the water into the lake. And now we wait for a bite. We're getting bit. We're getting bit. We're getting bit. It's very key to let these things eat it. This is about the time you want to pick the rod up nice and gently as it's getting bit. Slowly reel down that little bit of a slack so you can keep feeling it and wait for that fish to actually swim off with your bait. Oh, he let it go. He left it alone. He must have sensed us. I'll put the rod back down. Oh, he's back. He's back. I think he's on there. Oh, got him. There he is. There he is. He's gone there. Oh, it came off. Dang it. Got me stuck in the weeds and he came off. That's okay. You guys got a really good gist of how this stuff works here. This is a very user-friendly and a very easy, relaxing way to fish a lot of the times. On some lakes out there, be sure to check your regulations. You can use 2 hooks. So the best thing is to do, set this power bait rod up, get it fishing, and then go casting your spinner around the other end. And a lot of times even that'll attract the fish into your power bait. Kind of a double whammy. On to our next method. Now our next technique is going to be very simple and user-friendly, and that's bobber fishing with bait. It's not as easy to get snagged up. You can really work that top column of the river or the lake that you're fishing, and it's a great way and a very visual and fun way to catch trout. This setup is going to start with an addicted trout flow. Now these little guys right here are extremely convenient. They attach to your line simply. I'm going to actually show you guys that in just a second. And all you need is this, one of those barrel swivels that we've already bought for our power bait setup, and your bait down below it. Okay, next method is probably one of my favorites, again, mainly because of the visual aspect of it, and it is using the trout bobber that we make here at Addicted. This thing is super easy. It's a fixed float, so it goes right to your line. Very easy setup. We're about to show you that right now. All right, now this setup comes complete with your bobber and your rubber tubing that you're gonna need to set this bad boy up. It's as simple as this. You're gonna take your main line coming out of your rod. You're gonna run that first piece of rubber tubing up your line. Second step, you're gonna take your bobber, run it through the holes right near the top stem of that bobber, down through the bottom end. I'm going to take the tip of that bobber, get it wet, and then add my first piece of rubber tubing. And it doesn't have to go all the way on there. Even if it's on there about a 1/4 inch, that'll fish just fine. Third but not least step, my other piece of rubber tubing, slide it on, wet the end of it, and we're ready to fish. Now, what this means by a fixed float is that it is completely fixed to your line, but all you have to do is grab that end of it, slide it to where you want, and that's the depth you're going to be fishing at. My next step is going to be adding my leader line. So what I'm going to do is take that same size 10 barrel swivel, and you guys will notice the methods that I'm showing you here is very easy. It's not a lot of gear buying. The most money you're going to spend is on your spinners, on your hooks and your bobbers, but everything kind of coincides with itself. It's like the Mexican food of fishing. It's really all the same ingredients, just a different way. So I got my 8-pound test connected to the other end of the swivel. Clinch knot. Down to about 3 feet of my 8-pound test to a hook. I'm gonna switch things up on you a little bit here, and I didn't exactly show you guys this in the store because I wasn't really thinking about it, but I'm gonna show you how to use a jig head to use one of our plastic addicted worms. But also this same adaptation, this same technique works very well with a little thing called the Nightcrawler. Perfect little Nightcrawler. This flies on the little side, which is kind of nice because we don't want a big giant long one. Sometimes you can even do this with a half of a worm. I'm gonna go ahead and stick that right through the head of that worm, all the way through, get that thing on there good and solid. And poke it through. And you see I have about an inch of that worm on the hook. Now, after you've tried rigging your Nightcrawler like this, one of my favorite ways to do it is with one of these little mini jig heads that I'm about to show you. So what we have here is a 32nd ounce Mustad addicted jig head. You can find these on our website, addicted.fishing, along with some of the different techniques that you've seen here today, some of the different methods, the bobbers, some of the jigs, some of the spinners, you can also find on our website. So if you can't find them at your local stores next to your house, check it out on addicted.fishing. So to put the worm on, same with the Nightcrawler, same with this plastic worm, I'm gonna run my hook right through the head. And the thing I love about using these little jig heads is it works just as well with a normal Nightcrawler. And really what it does is it gives you the advantage of having a bigger and better hook to hook those fish. That hook is sitting there like this the entire time waiting for that fish to bite, getting him right in the top lip, right where we want them. And now when you're using a smaller hook, having that worm on that small hook allows those fish to come up, take pieces of your worm, strip your bait, and ultimately not get hooked. Same clinch knot right onto the bottom of my line. And we're fishing. So the difference with this setup is that you're adjusting your depth from the surface down. On a nice little breezy day like this method can work very well because it covers a lot of water. This method moves around the lake with the wind sometimes, actually covering more ground. As those fish swim circles around the lake looking for food, they ultimately will have a better chance of seeing it. So this is how we're going to do this. I'm going to gauge my depth out there. I know it's probably not more than about 5 feet to where I can cast, so I'm going to set my depth to roughly 4 feet or so and give her a whip. Same style as with the power bait, tip behind my head, let a foot of line out of my rod tip, grab the base of my rod, and let her fly. Once again, a really great hands-off technique. You can throw a thing of power bait out there. If you have a friend fishing with you and there is a 2-pole license, I can have my bobber floating, I can have my stuff fishing off the bottom with my power bait off the bottom, and then I can be casting a spinner all at the same time, trying all 3 methods and doing whatever I can to have success catching those fish. What's that mean? Oh, it's back up now. Was it really gone, or were we crazy?
It was gone.
Gone. Like all the way?
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Pays to pay attention, people. The twiddle, will the twiddle get him? Dang. Almost had one there. Those whatevers. Back out there. Right in the exact same spot. Perfect. Now, on to my very favorite method of all 4 of these. It's a little bit more of an advanced technique. It's going to take some time and some good work from some muscle memory and some calisthenics of how to actually fish this presentation. But first, we're going to talk about the jigs. And when we talk about twitching jigs for trout, not all of them are created equal. So on this board, I have a good assortment of the Addicted Sink It series jigs. Now, when I'm picking some out that I'm going to be used for the twitching aspect, I'm going to go with a 1/4 ounce in the either Nightmare colors, either the blackhead, red body, or the all black jigs. That's going to look a little bit more like our actual sculpin patterns here. These ones are actually homemade. These are all hand tied, some by myself, some by my good friend Bill Herzog, who's the one that showed me this technique. But finding something in that darker range of colors, like those black bodies or those red bodies, will really look more like these actual sculpin jigs, unless in your local area where you're fishing, you can find things that look just like this. Now, your size range for these jigs is going to range depending on the depth of water that you're fishing. If I'm fishing shallow water, I'm going to go with something that is the 1/8 ounce. But then if I'm fishing deep water, I'm going to want something that's up into the 1/4 ounce range. Now let's show you how to fish these things. Okay, last but my very favorite technique of all is using the twitching jig. So there is a lot of reasons why this is my favorite technique of all. And one is just the kind of fish and the aggressiveness of the fish when you catch them using this method. So exact same setup, we're going to use our rod that we use for our spinner fishing, our lighter rod and our little bit shorter one. The shorter the rod, a little bit higher sensitivity you're going to have in this. And fishing this method is very regulated on sensitivity. You need to be able to feel the bite as well as feel the bottom so that you're not losing these valuable jigs. I'm going to do my typical clinch knot once again. Same knot, kind of fits all with every one of these presentations here. 7 spins, back through the eye. There we go, we're fishing. Now, why this is going to be a little more of a technical style of fishing is because you're going to want to find structure, whether that's logs in the water, some sort of man-made structures, or any sort of rock structures that are in the river or in the lake that those fish can hang around. These sculpins live in structure. That's what we're emulating with this. Is a tiny little bait fish. That's why this thing tends to catch the biggest fish of all, because the bigger fish tend to be more a little bit cannibalistic on the other fish in the lakes. That's how they get so big. So right in front of me, I have this beautiful big log underwater. I'm going to start with my presentation here. What's most importantly of all is to give this thing a very live motion. That's usually what's going to key those fish in on eating it. If it doesn't look natural and it's supposed to be a natural presentation, sometimes the fish can't be outsmarted. So what I'm going to do is just a constant little reel with a small little tip wiggle, making sure that thing gets to sink after every couple of wiggles and fall back to the bottom. A lot of times what will happen is you'll go to start reeling in again, and as that thing falls back to the bottom and back to the floor of the lake, that fish is going to come up and eat it at its most vulnerable point, and that's when it's falling. What's most key of all is that that jig stays close to the bottom of the lake. You don't want it going straight to the surface and walking across the surface. You want it down there next to the bottom of the lake or the river, making that swimming motion and staying at that strike zone level, which is normally within about 1 to 2 feet of the bottom throughout the entire cast. So along with the structure, I'm also going to use that same casting technique that I did with the spinners. I'm going to start clockwise around the lake and then keep moving down to my max casting distance after every series of casts until I worked my way all around the lake and exhausted all my opportunity. All right, everybody, that is all the time we have for today. If you have any questions about these methods and how they work, be sure to comment down in the comments below and we will do our best to get them answered. So quickly, we're going to cut to a little beatdown scene of each of these methods in action. Well, everybody, I hope this video helps you guys go out there and enjoy the amazing sport of fishing. Until next time, you all stay fishy. We'll see you out there.